welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and today I thought we'd play with this pattern. I thought it was kind of neat. A little something I found over on friendshipbracelets.net. The pattern is 64168. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the pattern itself here, and we're going to put it over onto my template like this and paste it. And if you've been here before, you know, next step is rotating that 90 degrees and then enlarging it because it's so little. It'd be a whole lot easier if we could see what we're doing. Yeah, that seems fine. And then we're going to move it, well, we're going to put it onto a new layer. And that allows us to just kind of move it around and figure out what we kind of want to do with it. So there we go. So my thought was these things, the pink and white, are always going in one direction. But when we do our flip, we could get it to go back the other direction, which is going to draw the eyes to the center, which I thought would be kind of a fun way to kind of mess with this. So first I need a color to use instead of the black. Again, there's a tool over here. This is the select by color tool. And if we paint in black, it will actually get our outside borders, which makes it kind of hard if we want to change something like kind of later on. So, now, how does this work? There's a dark one there and a dark one there, and they come up. Let's see, that's the one in the center, and then plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So it comes to the here. And then one in the center. And see how I'm using the other squares to count because the black, you can't see it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And then this comes back to here. And that comes back to there. So that's kind of fairly straightforward in a sort of zigzag way. And the bonus of that, I just realized, is they both come back to the center line. So that actually kind of makes it very easy for us. It doesn't go all the way to the edge of the outside, and it only ever goes into the center line. So if you're trying to do this, actually the guideline, super helpful. So I think that's also going to make it a little bit easier when we actually make the bracelet. So oh, that's kind of neat. So that's how it's going to end. It's going to come right up to the very edge. So that's pretty awesome. And then obviously these strings here are going to be pretty straightforward. Well, it's going to be easy to tell where they traveled because they're just following a line, which also means they're going to get used an awful lot. So if you're one of those people who cuts their strings, you know, to size or whatever, these are the ones that you're going to want to have being super long. Again, I cut my string in thirds, so I typically don't have problems with any of the bracelets that are of this size. And that's got a lot to do with, like, first off, I know that this size, this template that I made, works out like really nice for just about anybody to wear, guys and girls. And the strings work out. So yeah, that's what kind of what my templates are really for, is finding that sweet spot where everything seems to work out for you. So, and I'm saying you have to do it my way. I'm just saying it helps. So it helps a lot. There's a reason I do it this way. So there, we've just made the whole path for those. And then our example thing, it has a color going down the middle. In this case, it's a kind of a blue. We can use that. No, that's not bad. Mind you, I don't know what we'll actually use for making this bracelet. Because like really, I've been kind of playing around with the variegated strings and looking at how this has this nice stripe down the middle. I could totally see this being like a perfect spot to do the variegated. So yeah, that's probably going to happen. Which one? I don't know. I discovered I had actually more variegated floss than I originally had thought. And so I don't know. So because the start of this bracelet is going to be sort of off-sided, right? Like the all of this blue is on one side and both of those grays are on one side. And the fact that I double up my string is going to mean that when we start the bracelet, I'm going to have to shift some threads over to that side to make this kind of work. So it's not a super big deal. It's just a thing that happens. All right. Do we want to use the same colors they did? Well, we're not going to use white, so we might as well find other colors. Let's make it fun. Let's go with a red. Hmm. Red, white. Well, let's pick our other color just to make it easier on ourselves. We'll go with ooh, go with the yellow. So that one's red. This is yellow. This is yellow. So I'm trying to see if I can see how that's supposed to work. And let's take a look at the other side here real quick. So along this long line is the red for it as well. So the reds seem to always be like 4 and 2. And the yellows seem to be 3 and 1. So we're going to use red more than yellow? That's interesting. Yeah, obviously I didn't come up with this pattern myself. So I'm kind of not 100% sure I get the hows and whys to everything here. But yeah, it's kind of neat. And so it's just kind of going to be a little detective work to see how the rest of these strings go in here. Yes, I can go look at the other pattern. I just don't gain a lot from doing that. Like if I just go and 100% of the time just look at how somebody else does a pattern, I don't think I would learn anything. I wouldn't, be able to figure out which strings go in which order and why and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's important to be able to do that. I think it's important to be able to say, I know why it goes the way it does. When it comes to actually bracelet making, because there are some people who are completely baffled all the time with everything bracelet related. And I'm trying to take some of that mystery out of it. I'm trying to actually show you guys that it's just a mathematical thing. There is something here that shows. So we put in the the zigzag, right? We have, oh, I missed one. We put in the zigzag thing so we can see where those strings are. So as like this yellow is coming down and it gets to here, it only has one possible path, and that is to come back out. All right. So if we follow that, and like it went straight under there because that's the only way it could go. It went straight under there because that's the only way. It's likely to go straight under this orange because that, or I guess it's a reddish orange. Well, whatever. Goes under the orange because that's obviously going in a straight line. We continue it forward and look, boom, it ends up over here where you needed a yellow anyways. Bounces off this corner. We can just see it doing what it has to do. It just sort of makes sense. And so so based on this one is yellow. And it comes out here like this and back and like that. And that means our orange red color is coming through this way. Now in the past, we've done some of this, and it turns out we used colors a little bit differently than what the original called for. And sometimes that's pretty awesome. So yeah, it looks like it just alternates here as well. This yellow, I just kind of looked ahead and followed this path down, and this comes around this way to become for this one here. And you can see they're basically taking a very, very simple approach. Like they're not zigzagging into the corners. It just kind of comes pretty straightforward. So that's going to make it easier to actually make this bracelet, I think. I kind of like when it does that personally. Because when it zigzags at the corners, yeah, that can be stressful. Well, it's just harder in some ways. So yeah, that's going like that. So let's see this next one. Yep, it's a yellow. It's immediately bounces and then comes out and does this one. Okay, and then that makes this one a red. Oh, it's this one. I was gonna say I just saw something in here that wasn't done, but that's where that was. All right. And see, we have two reds coming into this square. Obviously, it's two reds back out. You can't do anything else with that. We have the red that's bouncing here off of the blue and coming back this way. And this red over here is traveling from one side to the other, which that's kind of neat. I kind of expected the strings to sort of stay on their own sides, to be able to be, one or the other, but there are actually some that are actually crossing over. So that's kind of cool. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for strings to be exchanged in case one of the strands is getting shorter, at least when it comes to the reds and the yellows in this case. The blue and the black ones, no, they are going to get used a lot. And again, if you're not cautious, if you don't cut them long, you run the risk of having some real trouble with your bracelet. Like not having the tassels long enough to tie around somebody's wrist. That's I think that's why I see a lot of keychains out of bracelet work, is because people are like, oh, that's not a bracelet. No, it's a keychain. And it happens. I mean, through experimentation, we can work out how to do a whole variety of things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure that there are people who make keychains because doing a longer, bigger project just means it's going to take so much longer and they don't want to have to commit that kind of time for a pattern that maybe they don't enjoy, because that could be a thing too. I've I've done a number of projects where it's like, oh God, can this just be over, please? Um, but I'm the kind of guy that, I mean, I kind of don't rest until my projects are done. So call it tenacity, call it determination, call it just being stupid. I don't know. Something, something keeps me going even long after the excitement of the design is worn off. Mind you, too, how I can kind of get through some of that is I kind of hype myself up in my mind that, maybe it's not great at the moment, but let's do a couple more rows and have a look and see what it looks like. And maybe just a few more rows, it'll start to really develop into something. And if you get yourself kind of excited about the prospects, um, it does make a project kind of go a little faster and a little bit easier, even if you're kind of done with it already, you know? And I think because of my ADHD, getting myself kind of hyped up about a project kind of helps with the whole, releasing the dopamine and being very excited about stuff kind of helps me to kind of make the most of it, I guess. All right, there we go. There's the whole top half. I can get rid of our example now. And let's flip this thing and see what we got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab the whole top half, copy and paste it. And then I'm going to come over here to the flip tool and flip it vertically. And then use the move tool to bring it down here to our halfway point. And while I still have the move tool, I can use the arrow key to sort of just slide that over and get it to align. And once it is, if I go to the top area, not down here, you see it kind of goes away, but when I go up to the top, can you see that? Yeah. It becomes a little anchor, and that's anchors the layer. It makes it so that way it's no longer just floating there. And now our design has them coming down from the top and up from the bottom. Our zigzag stays entirely the same, but the way that the lines move in the rest of it have all changed. I think that's super cool. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to make. In fact, honestly, if I have it, I might even look at doing these in variegated because they don't cross over each other. The outer part might actually look very cool with a variegated as well. So that's something that we can look forward to. So yeah, hopefully I can get this together for you, and yeah, something. It's going to be fun. All right. Hey, before I go, I want to thank my Patreon supporters as well as my YouTube members for making this possible. They helped buy the string that I'm going to be using tomorrow to actually put this together. So thank you guys very, very much for that. And thank you for hanging out this long. It actually really helps the channel a whole lot. If you really want to help out some more, hit the like. And if you haven't already, subscribe. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.